Welcome back to the deep dive. I want to start today with a bit of a confession. There's this persistent lie that I think most of us believe, and I catch myself falling for it all the time. It's the idea that the people we really admire, the CEOs, the top artists, the people
Yeah.
just crushing it, that they got there because they had some kind of map.
Mm-hmm.
We look at them and think, well, of course they succeeded. They knew exactly what to do from day one.
It's the master plan fallacy, right? We see the shiny finish line, so we just assume the starting line was equally clean and organized. We assume the competence came before the action.
Exactly. But today, we are going to dismantle that entire idea. We're doing a deep dive into a really provocative piece from Jamaica Holmes. It's titled Figuring It Out, Why the People Who Win Are the Ones Who Don't Quit.
And it's based on insights from Andrew Issa, who is a major player and real estate owner and broker of Coldwell Banker Jamaica Realty.
And honestly, this is not just some motivational poster in text form.
No, not at all. And that's why I was so excited to dig into this one. It's actually a technical breakdown of how successful people navigate uncertainty. It argues that the main skill isn't knowledge.
Right.
It's not even talent. It is this specific willingness to figure it out when the path just goes dark.
That distinction is where I want to start.
Yeah.
Because usually when we talk about success, it's all about preparation, education, having a 5-year plan. But this source seems to suggest that starting without a clue is, well, it's actually the default.
It's not just the default state, it's the required state. The source makes this really bold claim right up front. It says most successful people do not start out knowing what they are doing. If you wait until you know everything to start, you've already lost. The market just moves way too fast.
Let me push back on that for a second, though.
Go for it.
Because to me, I'll figure it out. Usually it sounds like procrastination. That's what I say when I haven't done the homework. It sounds kind of reckless.
And that is the common misconception. We see figuring it out as passive, almost lazy, like you're just winging it. But the source frames it as a really active state. It's this high-energy engagement with the unknown.
Okay.
It's the difference between I don't know, so I'll stop, and I don't know, so I'm going to start running experiments until I find the data.
So it's about the reaction to not knowing. It's not about being ignorant. It's the method for handling ignorance.
Precisely. The source says the people who get where they want to go aren't necessarily smarter or more experienced. They're just more determined to stay in the process when things get messy.
I like that phrase, stay in the process.
Yeah.
But let's get into the weeds of why this is so hard. The article talks about the learning curve and this myth of the master plan. Why do we get so paralyzed when things don't go according to the spreadsheet?
Because we want it to be linear. We're taught in school, right? Input A leads to output B. Effort equals results. But in the real world, real estate, tech, whatever, the learning curve is messy. It's jagged. And the source points out that advice conflicts, experts disagree. You can do everything right and still stall out for months.
That's the part that gets me. When the experts disagree. You've got one mentor saying, scale fast, burn cash, and another saying, stay lean, be profitable, and you just freeze. You don't know which map is right.
Exactly. And the source argues that the average person sees that confusion as a stop sign. They think, oh, this is hard. The experts are fighting. I must be on the wrong path.
Yeah, they treat it like a warning signal, like a check engine light.
Right. And what do you do when the check engine light comes on?
You pull over.
You pull over. But the high performer, they flip the script. They see those exact same challenges not as a warning, but as validation. The source actually calls it proof you're doing something real.
Well, that's good.
If there wasn't friction, it wouldn't be valuable. If it were easy, somebody else would have already commoditized it.
That is a massive mindset shift. So if I'm banging my head against the wall, it doesn't mean I'm failing. It means I'm actually in the arena.
You're in the arena.
Yeah.
You're doing the work that justifies the reward. You're dealing with reality, not theory. And this leads to the mechanism of how we keep going. The source brings up this idea that I found fascinating. Drain versus activate.
This was the part that really stuck out to me. I mean, I felt so called out. It's about our physical response to stress. Right?
It is. Think about what happens when you hit a huge roadblock. A deal collapses last minute, or you launch something and, crickets. For most people, the immediate reaction is drain. They feel physically heavy, tired. They want to go take a nap or just scroll social media.
Oh, I felt that 100%. It's like the air goes out of the balloon. You just want to retreat.
But for the people who really want that goal, the winners, as the source calls them, That same roadblock triggers an activation response.
Hmm.
It's almost like adrenaline. They get sharper, they get more focused. The problem stops being a threat to their ego, and it just becomes a puzzle to solve.
So they shift from fear to hunt.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah. It's a shift from a defensive posture to an offensive one. Instead of thinking, why is this happening to me? They think, okay, how do I fix this? And the source makes a really heavy statement here. It says, defeat is only possible if quitting is on the table.
I highlighted that one 3 times. But, I have to play devil's advocate here. Doesn't that sound a little bit like a bumper sticker?
It sounds simple, but the logic is profound. If you literally remove the option of quitting, if you just delete that variable from your code, then a setback can't be the end.
Yeah.
By definition, it can only be a delay. It changes I failed into, okay, this attempt didn't work. What's the next attempt?
It turns failure into data.
Exactly. It just strips the emotion out of it. You haven't lost the war, you just lost the skirmish. So
Right.
you regroup and you attack from a different angle.
Okay, but just being persistent without any kind of plan,
Mm.
that's just delusion,
Yeah.
right? You can bang your head against a wall forever and just get a headache.
And thank goodness the source pivots on that, because you are absolutely right. Effort without direction is just exhaustion. It's very clear. You need real numbers and real timelines. You can't just hustle. You have to know where the ship is sailing.
This is where we get into that concept of margin. This felt super practical,
Yeah.
especially coming from someone with a real estate background like Andrew Issa. How do we define margin here? Because I usually just think profit margin.
In this context, margin is the gap between your perfect plan and reality. It's about planning for failure.
Okay.
Most people plan for the perfect world. If they need to make $5,000 and a client pays $5,000, they go pitch one client,
Right. Assuming a 100% success rate.
which never happens. The check gets lost, the client changes their mind, the bank delays the transfer.
Always.
And if your plan falls apart because of one tiny delay, it wasn't a plan, it was a wish. So the source suggests a formula. If the target is tight, the activity has to be wider.
If the target is tight, the activity has to be wider.
Okay.
Okay, let's break that down.
So let's say you're in sales. You need to close one deal this month to pay the mortgage.
Okay.
A novice plans to get one lead, nurture that one lead, and close it. That's a tight target with tight activity.
Incredibly high risk.
Extreme risk. The source argues you have to assume breakage. You have to assume deals will close late, that efforts from Q1 won't pay off till Q4. So if you need one deal, you don't pitch one person, you pitch 10. You build a buffer of activity so that even if 80% of things go wrong,
Which they might.
which they very well might, you still hit your target.
That's interesting because it stops you from being a victim of circumstance.
Yeah.
If I pitch one person and they say no, I'm ruined. If I pitch 10 and one says no, I don't even care.
It creates psychological safety through volume. You're not desperate for any single outcome because you've created enough margin to absorb the losses. The source calls this smart planning. It's not pessimistic, it's just...
Statistical realism. I love that term.
Yes.
It reminds me of engineering. You don't build a bridge to hold exactly the weight of the cars. You build it to hold 10 times the weight.
Exactly. You over-engineer your effort. If you aim for the minimum, you are basically gambling with your livelihood. And the winners, this article talks about, they never gamble on the minimum.
Now, doing all this requires confidence. And that brings us to the newbie trap.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is a huge hurdle for people starting out or even just pivoting careers. We say, oh, I can't do that yet, I'm new.
The source calls the "I'm new" excuse a comforting lie.
Ouch.
It feels safe, right? It validates our fear. It gives us permission to stay on the sidelines. But the article really challenges this. It says there's no automatic link between being seasoned and being successful.
That's got to sting for some of the veterans listening.
It's a reality check. We confuse time served with competence. We think because someone's been in the industry for 20 years, they must be better. But the source argues a newcomer who is hungry, who has clear intent, and who is consistent will outperform a veteran who's just.
Running on autopilot.
Exactly, because the veteran stops figuring it out. They think they already know everything.
Yeah, they stop hunting.
They do. They rely on their old contacts. They stop innovating. Meanwhile, the newbie's out there turning over every single stone because they have to. Intent beats tenure.
But what about the valid excuses? The article lists them. The economy is bad, interest rates are up, there's a global crisis. These are real problems.
They are objectively real facts. Yes, the source doesn't deny that, but it makes a crucial distinction. They are real facts that we use as excuses.
Walk me through that. How do you acknowledge a bad economy without it being an excuse?
Okay, let's take the real estate market. The market crashes. That's a fact. But you have two agents in that same market. Agent A looks at the crash and says, well, nobody's buying, so I'll stop calling. It's not my fault, it's the market.
Right. They outsource the result to the economy. They become a passenger.
Exactly. Agent B looks at the same crash and says, okay, people are scared. I need to change my script to address that fear.
Mm-hmm.
I probably need to make double the calls to find the serious buyers, and maybe I need to look for distressed properties instead of luxury ones.
Same market. Totally different response. One retreats, one adapts.
Precisely. The source defines optimism not as pretending the market isn't bad. That's just delusion. Optimism is acknowledging the bad market and choosing to work through it anyway.
It's the refusal to outsource your results to the environment. That's a powerful phrase. It's like saying, I'm not responsible for my paycheck, the Federal Reserve is.
And that's a powerless position to be in. If your success depends on the weather or your boss's mood, you aren't an entrepreneur, you're a victim.
So how do we stop being a victim? How do we keep that Agent B mindset? The source suggests we can't do it alone. This whole section on accountability was really interesting.
Right, it's about alignment and environment. Plans just fail in isolation. When you keep your goals in your head, they're fluid. You can negotiate with yourself.
Oh, I do this all the time. Yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. I'm tired today. Nobody else knows, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly. The negotiation happens in the dark. But the moment you speak it out loud,
It becomes real.
and it needs to be measured honestly. That's the phrase the source uses. This isn't just a friend asking, how's it going? It's looking at the metrics. Did you make the calls? Yes or no?
And if the answer is no, you can't hide from it.
Right. But it's also about the physical environment, your posture. This is something we often overlook, especially now with so many people working from home.
This really resonated with me. The idea that just stepping into a professional space changes how you perform.
It's how our environment shapes our thinking. If you're trying to build a multi-million-dollar business from your couch in your pajamas, your brain is in rest mode.
Yeah.
The source notes that stepping into a professional office, putting on the suit, using the right tools, it changes your own internal credibility.
It signals to yourself that you're serious.
And it signals it to the market. Professionalism persuades. You can't ignore the tools available, a good CRM, a mentor, even just a proper desk, and expect to perform at an elite level. Those are force multipliers.
It's like dress for the job you want, but it's design your environment for the outcome you want.
Exactly. If you want to figure things out, put yourself in a room where problems get solved. Don't sit in a room where people complain.
So let's recap. We have the activation mindset. We've built margin into our planning. We've stopped using the newbie excuse and the economy excuse, and we've aligned our environment. The big question left is, why? What's the prize? Because this all sounds like a grueling process.
It is grueling. And if the only prize was money, most of us would probably burn out. The source takes a philosophical turn at the end that I think is really important. It argues the true reward isn't the deal closing. It's not the commission check.
Which is counterintuitive.
Yeah.
That's what we think we're chasing, the trophy.
We think we are. But the deep, lasting satisfaction comes from the knowledge of what it took to get there. It comes from the journey.
I know. It's about the journey. Sounds like such a cliche.
Yeah.
But break down why the source thinks this is practical, not just fluffy.
Okay, think about it. If you win the lottery tomorrow, you have money. Great. But you have no confirmation of your own ability. You just got lucky. You're fragile because you don't know how to repeat it. If the money disappears, you are right back at zero.
Right. You haven't built the engine, you just found some gas.
Exactly. But if you built it, if you navigated the obstacles, faced the rejection, handled the bad economy, and you figured it out, that builds a sense of self-efficacy that is bulletproof. The source says the reward is looking back at the failed attempts and the wrong turns and realizing they were just fuel. You get to say, I didn't get lucky. I figured it out.
That phrase, I figured it out, it implies agency. It implies I am capable of solving problems.
And that is something you keep forever. No market crash can take that away from you. Once you know you can figure things out, you stop fearing the unknown. You realize you are the variable that matters most.
It's true confidence, not the fake I know everything confidence, but the quiet I can handle whatever comes confidence.
Exactly. And that brings us right to the source's final call to action. It's very direct. It basically says, stop waiting.
Make this the year you decide.
Stop outsourcing responsibility. Stop waiting for the perfect time or for the master plan to just fall into your lap. Engage fully today.
It's a sobering thought, but also really empowering. it puts the ball squarely back in your court.
It does. It removes the ability to blame.
So before we wrap this up, I want to leave our listener with a challenge based on this. We talked about that concept. Defeat is only possible if quitting is on the table.
Right. The condition for defeat.
So here's the thought experiment. I want you, listening right now, to identify the single biggest stressor in your career, the thing that feels impossible, the thing that makes you want to go take that nap.
The thing that triggers that drain response we talked about.
Exactly. Now, I want you to imagine a scenario where quitting is physically impossible. Imagine that walking away simply does not exist as an option. If you had to solve it, if your life depended on figuring it out, what is the very first phone call you would make right now? What is the email you would write?
That's powerful. It forces you to bypass the emotional, can I do this, and go straight to the tactical, how do I do this?
It clears the fog. Stop looking for the exit door and start looking for the lever.
And that right there is where the figuring out begins.
A huge thank you to Jamaica Holmes and the insights inspired by Andrew Issa for this deep dive. It's been a serious mindset reset for me. I think I need to go look at my own margin math.
I think we both do. It's a good reminder to keep hunting.
And thank you for listening. Go figure it out. We'll see you in the next deep dive.
Take care.